Hello and welcome to the Art Market podcast. Today I'm talking with Gillian Lee-Smith, who won Outstanding Artist at June's Art Market. Hello Gillian, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, yes, good.
So what's been happening since the art markets?
I've just been continuing to work away, really. I've had a couple of exhibitions and showcases. I'm part of an exhibition called Our Dreams and Fairy Tales, which is on in Masham in Yorkshire at the moment. So that's quite exciting, a group exhibition. And I've just been continuing to work away in my studio, really, making new characters.
So I love your characters. When did you first come up with the idea of creating these amazing characters that you do?
I've been working on the idea for about 3 years, really. I studied costume design, graduating about 6 years ago, and since then I've been working on paintings, which are very figurative and very much based on storytelling and characters, and they sort of featured these girls, these kind of solitary, melancholy characters in my paintings, and I had been wanting for a while to actually make them into 3D characters. So I started working in textiles, painting textiles and making these sort of doll characters, and then from then just really started working in clay, which has just given me a lot more scope to bring characters into the positioning and the way they move and things. So yeah, that's really how they came about.
I can really see your characters in animation. Have you thought about going down that way, or have you decided to work with an animator or do like little films or anything like that?
It is really something that I would love to do, and I just have to connect with the right person to make it happen, I guess, because they do move. They're very posable, and they do have their own little stories and their own little dreams and personalities, I guess. And but I'm a complete technophobe, and I'd love to be able to film them in some way. And I thought about kind of doing some stop animation stuff, but I would need to get over my fear of entering into that realm. But I would, if there was anybody who could kind of help me make that happen, then I guess I just need to connect with the right people and to meet someone who could help me with that. That would be great.
I think that'd be perfect. I mean, I think your characters kind of remind me of Pinocchio. Is that an inspiration?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was an avid reader as a child. My parents could hardly get me out of my room because I just was reading all the time. And so I really do come from that kind of world of, sort of wanting fairy tales to be a reality and, just living in a bit of a dream world, I guess. And even now as an adult, the books that I read a lot of Angela Carter and Margaret Atwood, and so kind of grown up fairy tales. So I'm still sort of in that realm, I guess. And yeah, so a lot of my inspiration comes from these stories.
So what would be your favourite piece in your collection?
I've just finished 2 characters who they're the largest characters that I've made to date, female character and a male character, and they kind of have sort of mousy ears, but they do look like they have their own story. They look like most of my characters, I always sort of imagine, are quite solitary, and I always make them as sort of single characters, but the last couple of months I've been very much working in pairs. I don't know where that's coming from, and that maybe they won't necessarily end up being together because people, two different people will take them home, but I have recently had people buying them in pairs as well, so it's kind of interesting, and I don't know if I'm responding to that by making them in pairs, or I'm just not wanting them to be lonely anymore. I want them to have that kind of little connection to something else.
I really like that idea. I really do, and I think it'd be really sad if they were in a shop and they got separated. It'd be really like, oh no. Isn't that part of like fairy tale land, that there is some kind of conflict and you do get pulled apart and there's that kind of drama to it, and then they get rejoined again? So do you think it's subconsciously, maybe that's in the back of your mind, like you're building up this energy around these two characters, and that kind of, so the story kind of continues?
I think it must be, because, as I say, for a long time I've worked with singular characters, and when I started making the textile dolls, they were very much on their own, and the story around them, they were always on their own. They lived very solitary lives. They were always in windmills or little kind of rundown cottages, and they might sort of be very connected to the environment and the wildlife around them, and they were always sort of nature loving, but they very much lived on their own. And yeah, but now that I've kind of seen that people actually, when I'm chatting to people who like my work, they are looking at them. Maybe it's because I'm getting people who are actually starting to collect my work now. Before, I guess because I'm sort of relatively new to it, I had seen people buy my work, but now I'm starting to see people coming back and buying it. So yeah, you're right. Maybe kind of subconsciously I'm sort of responding to that and realising that people buy a character and then they come back and buy another one, and they're creating their own little community of Gillian Lee Smith characters, and the way they're displaying them and things. So I think that is kind of giving me ideas and sort of, obviously influencing the way that I'm now working in some way.
And it's almost as well, the Toy Story kind of thing, where you close the door and then you imagine the two characters playing together or getting up to mischief in some way. And it's kind of nice thinking that if people do buy it as a pair, they'll carry on playing together and that kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes I think, maybe I should be kind of producing more serious, abstract, grown-up work. I do worry about that quite a lot, but at the same time I'm just kind of trying to do what comes naturally to me and sort of follow my own heart and my own spirit with the work that I'm creating. And I guess it maybe says more about me than I even realise about myself, that I do have this imagination, and I do have I kind of hark back to childhood quite a lot, and just being in that world of sort of creating just something that's going on that your mind can take you anywhere.
I think and also as well, I think there's truth in innocence, that sometimes as you grow as an adult, that kind of gets taken away. And I think if you can maintain that as an adult, the innocence, and use that kind of energy to create, I think there's definitely truth in that, and there's kind of longevity as well.
Yeah, it's interesting because my part-time job that I actually do reminiscence work with older people. So I'm going into care homes and day centres and things, and a lot of the people I'm working with have Alzheimer's and dementia, and the time that they're living in is their childhood. That's the time that is kind of it's where their memories have taken them, and sometimes they believe that that's where they are now. And I think that is a real influence on my work. And the older people, they've been taken back to a time when they were happiest quite often, and when they felt most alive. And so it is that kind of going back to childhood, that naivety, that fairy tale folklore, going back to days when you were happy and carefree. And that has definitely been an influence on my work. And I think, again, that's where this kind of storytelling and characterisation comes into creating these little people that I'm creating.
I think as well, when you're in that story, or when you're in play, it's kind of safe, isn't it? Because you're creating it, you're creating the world, creation from the self, isn't it? So even from reminiscing back.
Yeah, I mean, the sessions that I do, I just enjoy so much, and it can be quite heartrending at times actually, because you are working with people who can't remember what they did yesterday, or even 10 minutes ago. And yet their memories from childhood are as clear as a bell, and there's a sadness to that, obviously, but then I get a lot of joy from it as well. And it kind of, when you can kind of spend that time with somebody who is living in that moment, or remembering their childhood, and they're getting joy from it as well, it just shows you how powerful that is, and how powerful our memories are. And again, I think that's just kind of something that I'm trying to strive for in my own work, is just...
Have you ever based a character on an elderly person that you've looked after?
Do you know, I haven't. No, not in such a direct way. But I guess what I have done is in my artwork, and I'm talking about my paintings, lately I've been kind of exploring the idea that there's one memory that almost, or story that almost defines you and defines your life. And whether that's a place that was really important to you, or an object, or an interest. And I've been kind of using the idea, I've been sort of painting these quite sad looking characters, these sort of quite melancholy characters that have these dresses, and there is an image within that dress, or within their clothing, and it's either a sort of dwelling place, like I'm always fascinated by windmills and things. I'm also, there's certain kind of, I guess, iconography that I use in my work, or things that I'm always coming back to, like Chinese lanterns and sailing ships and things like that. It sounds quite sort of whimsical, but and again with my textile dolls, it's something that I explored, that you'd have this character, but there would be an image, a picture, or illustration on this character, and it was almost a representation of them as a person, or of their life. So I guess with the reminiscence work, I'm kind of coming back to that again, that there's, whether it's a relationship, or a family member, or somebody's hobby, or somebody's work life, that there is just one thing that is just so important. I work with people, a lot of the men that I work with were miners, or were in the war. There's often just something that they really hold with them, and they really keep. So I guess, I'm not sort of looking at any one person in particular, but it's more of an idea and more of a feeling that I get from working with the older people.
It's an essence of them. Yeah, I like
Absolutely.
it. What are you showing at the art markets on the 13th of November?
So a couple of original paintings, some drawings, lots of new clay characters. I've also been working on some smaller fabric sort of rabbits and mice as well. Ooh. So they're completely new for the show. I've not had those before. So
that sounds fantastic. Where can we buy your work?
My work's in a few places, but if you go to my website, which is www.gillianleesmith.com, then it has a list of my stockists there. And of course, I will be at the art market on the 13th of November, so you can see me there.
Brilliant. It's been lovely talking to you, Gillian. Thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you at the art markets on the 13th of November.
Thank you, Fiona. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks very much.
If you would like to know more about the art markets, go to www.artmarkets.co.uk. We look forward to seeing you there.